Well, now, before we introduce her?
Well, she's gonna come from behind the scenes.
Right, she's going to come out.
But she's got seats.
Okay, so she can take a seat now, I guess. Thank you. Thank you. Even though we had no idea this was going to be part of our John, but okay.
It's fine.
You can say good evening, everyone. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, this was supposed to be given at like 6.
I know, 6:45.
I'm gonna ask everybody to sit down. Kathy needs to come out here.
He's getting her. What time is it?
7:15. She's gonna come out.
She's coming?
Yeah.
Why are they clapping?
Yeah, there we go. Woo! A wave from the left to the right. You started. Oh, he said no. Okay.
We're actually, I think, 1 or 2 minutes away from commencing, right? Apologies for the delay. Yeah. But we are almost there. Almost. Yes, I think. Should we just begin?
Yeah, go ahead.
What?
Oh, there we go.
Welcome to the West Hollywood Rainbow Key Awards for 2018. My name is Duke Mason, and I am the co-chair of the Lesbian and Gay Advisory Board for the City of West Hollywood.
And my name is Megan Kotanch, and I'm also co-chair of the Lesbian and Gay Advisory Board.
On behalf of the Lesbian and Gay Advisory Board, welcome to this very special occasion.
The Rainbow Keys are a celebration of individuals and organizations who have gone above and beyond the call of duty and made lasting impressions on our lives and the lives of people for generations to come.
To begin, we would like to welcome to the podium the members of the West Hollywood City Council, Mayor John Duran, Mayor Pro Tempore John D'Amico, and Council Member Lauren Meister to say a few words.
Thank you, Duke. I'm joined here by the Mayor Pro Tem, John D'Amico, and my colleague, Councilmember Lauren Meister. Council members Lindsay Horvath and John Heilman had conflicts tonight, but they do send their love. They're not anti-LGBT, I promise you. They would have loved to have been here. So I want to welcome you to our annual Rainbow Key Awards. We've had quite an exciting couple of weeks here in West Hollywood. I have received stacks and stacks of hate mail from all over the country saying, how could you honor that woman, that trollop, and she's attacking the president? And I said, yeah, but she's sexy as hell, and but enough about Kathy Griffin. I mean, enough about Kathy Griffin. Every year we have these Rainbow Key Awards, and every year it's always so great to see the honorees. All of you that are being honored tonight are really, you're going to hear all about them in just a moment, just contributions that you're giving to LGBT history. But a serious question that we do get sometimes at City Hall is, why do the gays need like a whole month of pride? I mean, a whole month of celebrating, and I mean, isn't just like one weekend enough at Christopher Street West? Why do you have to have a whole month? And it's actually a serious question that some of our non-LGBT people ask. And my response is, well, in 40-some years, we have gone from being criminals arrested for merely congregating in our nightclubs and our bars. We have taken on an epidemic that killed 500,000 of our men. We have battled the United States military, segregated the troops to allow LGBT people to serve, and besides that, we actually can get married. And we have done all that in just 40 years, so hell yeah, we're taking a whole month. So whether you're newly out, and if so, welcome to the club, you get a whole Pride Month, or whether you've been out marching in the streets in the 60s or the 70s, this is your month, this is your celebration. I hope we're going to see you at Christopher Street West all weekend here in Pride. I hope you will come to our lectures, to our poetry reading. I love lesbian poetry reading. I mean, that's so brilliant, right? We're going to have performances. We're going to have everything LGBT going on throughout the entire month of June. I hope you'll get one of the brochures and come and enjoy the whole month dedicated to you. So I know I was given a script, and of course, typical John Duran, I never follow scripts.
Speak for 30 seconds.
Oh, there you go. Well, you know, just like my grinder age is 48, that was about 30 seconds. So they're both accurate.
Lauren just said that's why it takes a month.
Okay. I think all three of us will leave the comedy to Kathy Griffin. So I'm going to stop at this point, and I guess we are now turning it over to my colleague, the Mayor Pro Tem, for the first award.
That's right.
Okay. We're leaving.
Get out of here. Yeah. So, thank you. That's our mayor and Councilmember Meister. I have been a friend of Jack's for many years, and every year this comes up, and I suggested to Jack that the hard and incredible work of our next honoree was certainly worth honoring by our city. And you know, there's all kinds of ways in which people receive awards, and in my humble opinion, receiving an award from your government, whether it's something small like a 2-square-mile city or the entire nation, has a certain significance because it's really a reflection of not just the members of the city council or of the Lesbian Gay Advisory Board. It really is a reflection of our entire community, an entire in this case, 2 square miles, 35,000 people who believe in the hard work of this honoree and all the honorees. And so I suggested to Jack that, you know, we make this nomination, and here we are this evening. Kathy Griffin is a towering figure on television, touring and publishing, a 2-time Emmy and Grammy award-winning comedian. She has millions of fans. Hundreds of thousands have seen her perform her unique brand of pull no punches comedy. She has sold out audiences from the Mark Taper Forum to Carnegie Hall to the Kennedy Center to the Sydney Opera House, Madison Square Garden, the West Hollywood City Council chambers, you name it, she's filled them. And, you know, we all know this, but this is a pull quote you can now use on your next book. Kathy is also a fierce ally and advocate for LGBTQ people, and we couldn't give this award to a better person. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jason.
For 25 years, she has opened the Best in Drag show that is a major fundraiser for the Alliance for Housing and Healing, formerly Aid for AIDS. In doing so, and through her own generosity, she has raised millions of dollars for HIV/AIDS-related services for the West Hollywood community. She is also a speaker and advocate for women's rights and on behalf of disenfranchised groups across the world.
Kathy has been honored by the Human Rights Campaign, Lambda Legal, GLAAD, the Trevor Project, the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, and by Harvard College. She has twice been named the funny lady we love by the Ladies' Home Journal. And because the Rainbow Key Awards are not only about recognizing the past, but also anticipating the future, we'd like to announce that Kathy has 2 shows coming up at the Dolby Theater on July 19th and 20th. Happens to be my 50th birthday, by the way. From one Chicago native to another, I'm glad to welcome Kathy Griffin.
All right, you guys, thank you so much. Oh, flowers too, no shit. Nice. Nice organization.
Can we move your handbag for the audience?
Actually, no. And I'll tell you why. You know, I'm not afraid to walk away from any topic. So before I start the hilarity, let me just say, I'm dressed head to toe. I'm sure many of you heard about the tragic passing of Kate Spade today. In her honor, I decided to dress head to toe in her beautiful clothing. It's my homage to a woman whom I admired so much. I didn't even know her, but she was a self-made woman and paved the way for so many women designers. Her death by suicide is also an important reminder that suicide does not discriminate. It doesn't care how much money you have, what color your skin is, or what your gender identity is. And we also can't forget that the suicide rates in the trans community are disproportionately high. Now the funny. All right. So you got to mix them up, a little of both, a little of both. All right, first of all, I love that you guys change your mayor out once a year. That's so gay. It's like typical. I'm bored with him. Get the hotter one. And are you the hotter one this year? No. Watch your back, honey. There's always another one behind you. Trust me. Anyway, all right. So I have to admit this is a strange sensation for me being around gay people. I understand you give them an inch and they take a mile and then they redecorate. Now look, I do want to talk to you guys about a lot of stuff going on because this year it really is different. I think we all feel it. So now after the November 2016 election, Democrats were so upset with the results that we swore we would never let this happen again. So I want to check the voter turnout for everyone here tonight. If it's not a really high number, I'm going to come to all of your apartments and make sure you have one of these goddamn I voted stickers. So raise your hand if you voted. No lying. Okay. All right. If I see one lying twink, and you know how they can be. Anything to get a new zaddy. And by the way, can I just say Stormy 2020? Stormy 2020. I'm just going to start it now. Campaigns have to start somewhere. Stormy 2020. All right, since the Supreme Court marriage equality decision in 2015, I have been so worried about apathy setting in because in our community we feel like, you know, and I say I'm the A and an ally, and we feel like we've made these strides, and sometimes, like in my opinion, during the Obama administration, I was one of those people guilty of thinking like, okay, we've started this great road of progress, it will have a natural trajectory, and then there was a Cheeto who cheated with a bunch of Russians, and his daughter's a feckless cunt. All right. Don't take it back. Don't take it back. Bleep. I know. And you know what the best part is? She doesn't even know the insult is feckless. Like, nobody wants to be thought of as feckless. You can call me a cunt all day, but I love all these men on the news, like mansplaining, like how not to use the C word. I'm like, fuck off, you cunt. All right, I digress. I'm back to my high and mighty. I should run for something. Out of this room, probably. I might be chased out. Anyway, so I've been worried about the Supreme Court decision yesterday, along with the Trump administration's posture towards transgender troops. Really reminds me we have so much work to do and protect. And I just, you know, we get very focused on Trump and all of his nonsense and all the crazy members of the administration and all their scary kleptocratic bullshit. I just want to remind everyone in this room that there's a man named Jefferson Beauregard Sessions, and he is the same man who put me under a 2-month federal investigation for the first time in history, as the government targeted a citizen in this way, much less a 57-year-old comedian who they tried to convince my mother was in ISIS, which she believed. For one day, she was drunk. It was one day, and she wanted me to join stamp collecting or something less volatile. I'm not in ISIS. I'm not, okay. Anyway, I admit it, my mother Maggie, the woman you love so much, is a Democrat who loves Fox News. Look, I'm just asking for the Liza pass, and you all know what that means. I don't need to explain it in this room. She refers to Sean Hannity as her boyfriend, and that feckless cunt can suck my dick also. I mean, why is the president calling Sean Hannity every night before bed, boys? And then, oh, by the way, what I was going to say about Jeff Sessions being the Attorney General. How the fuck did that gay elf turn into the Attorney General of the United States of America? Like, I admit, when he started stumping for Trump, I remember turning to my 18 years younger boyfriend. Thank you. That's my actual contribution to the community. But anyway, I swear I turned to him and I was like, I thought that guy was dead. So we are now in an era where racists that we thought were dead are running the highest law office in the land. So if you know anything about the history of governments that changed from a democracy to anything from authoritarian to dictatorial to, like I said, I think this was more kleptocratic in my humble opinion, you guys are first. Okay, so everyone has to we have to be in this together, and I know the country is divisive, and I'm going to say something more divisive, and it's this. Let's not kid ourselves. This one's different. It's shirts and skins. So pick a team. So Busters and Hillary people fucking figure it out and get together, because those freaks, and I'm going to call them animals. Yeah, because if they're going to call our citizens animals, fuck those animals. I wish I could see Trump in one of those fucking dog cages where they're having children at the border. So don't be afraid, because they are fearless and they are coming for your rights, your civil rights, your human rights, your basic rights. And guess what? They're getting them. They are getting Supreme Court decisions we never thought we'd see. I don't even know if SCOTUS can be trusted anymore, and I don't mean to be a conspiracy theorist like Roseanne, but you guys, you can still love the Connors without the Nazi. All right, take out the Nazi and the rest of the Connors, and the couch is still adorable, and Laurie Metcalf will carry the show. All right, or Sarah. You're in good hands, but let's get rid of the Nazi. So I had a joke about her. She's on her own now. That was my joke about her. So anyway, here's our reality. Our country is more misogynistic, in my opinion, than homophobic. And it's quite homophobic. So that's saying a lot. So as much as I dream of the day a woman can be president, I'm finally dealing with the fact that a gay man will probably end up being president first, and it's probably going to be one of like the power gays in this room. So just take a good look at your neighbor and just pick your next president. Remember when Oprah picked Obama? Do you guys remember that? But okay, so I'm from Illinois, so I'm watching Oprah every day because it's my job. And this was when she had the daytime show, which, by the way, we kind of need her to talk about reboot. Like, we really need Oprah to come back and do that 3 o'clock show. So the Obamas go on, and even a Chicagoan, I was like, oh, who's this junior senator? And my joke is, when she decided to stump for someone for the first time, like, it was kind of over. So when I say Oprah picked President Obama, it's a compliment, and I hope she picks somebody else next time. And that's another system of government we can consider, where just for 4 years, Oprah just picks. It's worked before. I make fun of her, and I think we all know who vice president is. Gayle, but Stedman will be fine, when he takes over EPA from Scott Pruitt. All right, so anyway, this is a warning, and so when we have our first gay president, which I hope to see, I just want you to know that after all I've put up with the last 25 years, I better be invited to a state dinner, and I want to stay in the Lincoln bedroom, goddammit. I've put in my time. You guys, I love you. This means so much to me. I thank you so much. Keep fighting the fight. This is the time to keep fighting. They need us more than we need them. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Fight on!
Take a quick picture. Which one? All of them? Oh, I think they are. They are. Awesome. Thank you, Kathy. Very quickly, we just want to acknowledge the fact that we have representatives here from State Senator Ben Allen's office, Assemblyman Richard Bloom's office, and Supervisor Sheila Kuehl's office, who are here to give commendations to each of our honorees. So we just want to acknowledge them and thank them for being here. I think we're going to skip 1 second. I think now we were going to welcome LGAB members Samantha Lavin, Sue Lavacari, and Marquita Thomas, who will join Mayor Pro Tem D'Amico to present the next award.
I just want to take my back.
Yes. Rudy Akbarian is an openly transgender member of the United States Army. We are recognizing him for his work as a mentor to other trans service members, for leadership in spite of fear and prejudice, and for deep commitment to volunteer work. Rudy has worked with LGBTQ homeless youth at homeless shelters as an employment specialist and helped them navigate through traumas and prepare them for employment. When the 45th president attempted to ban trans service members, Rudy told NBC Los Angeles how painful it was. He said, quote, "I got to work this morning and one of my supervisors told me. At first I didn't believe it. My heart dropped a little bit. It hurt."
In response, Rudy worked with the LA LGBT Center to provide information that was more honest and more accurate than the message being communicated from the White House.
Rudy has received the National Defense Medal, a Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, an Army Service Ribbon, and the M16 Sharpshooter Badge. Please help me in welcoming Rudy Akbarian.
All right. I sat at my desk and prepared a speech. I tore pages out of my notebook one after another because I didn't like what I had written. I thought, should I talk about the military? Maybe politics? Or what about pride? I felt those were all things I talk about all the time. So tonight, I want to bring up mental health. I want to break the stereotypes, the stigma, and the silence. I was always too afraid to talk about my depression, my anxiety, my OCD, and the list goes on. I was afraid because there are people in this world, like the President of the United States, who think being trans is an illness. I didn't want these people to know about the most vulnerable parts of me, to know about my mental health diagnosis. But then I thought, how can I advocate for uplifting the voices of those who are silenced when I'm allowing myself to be silenced? So tonight, I want to remind you all to take care of your mental health because your voice is so important. Your life is so important. And remember that you are never alone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations, Rudy, and thank you for your contributions to our community. So being on LGAB, the first question I often get is, what are the Rainbow Key Awards? We haven't really gone through that, so I thought it'd be remiss to not go back into the criteria. So let me tell you a little bit of the history about the awards. Since 1993, the City of West Hollywood has presented the Rainbow Keys to those who have made outstanding contributions to West Hollywood's gay and lesbian community. These contributions, by an individual or group, may be in many forms, including the arts, community action, humanitarian work, sports, medicine, armed services, leadership potential, benefit to the global gay and lesbian community, or in other ways. A lot, and I can say this with violence, a lot of thought and consideration goes into the selection of these Rainbow Key honorees. We really, truly hope you enjoy this presentation tonight. And moving forward, now we have Lauren Meister come to the podium, please, to present the next award. And you should be with Lauren and Lucas, I believe.
Yes. Lauren and Lucas, come join me. Elizabeth Savage. Elizabeth Savage. What can I say about Elizabeth Savage? Well, you know, she used to work for the city of West Hollywood for many years. She was a dedicated employee, and she wasn't a big hugger when she was, but now she hugs. So it's all good. Retirement is a good thing. Elizabeth Savage is a leader for social justice, as she has demonstrated with a lifetime of accomplishment, not only as a public servant, but as an activist in her own right, on behalf of the causes she has always fought for, including LGBT rights, affordable housing, and aging as part of a vital and diverse community. Elizabeth recently retired after 22 years with the City of West Hollywood. She began as a financial analyst and worked her way up to become manager of rent stabilization and then director of the Department of Human Services and Rent Stabilization.
At a time when public service is under attack for those who still place little value on the collective action that West Hollywood is a champion for, it's particularly fitting to honor Elizabeth, who provides such a striking example of the good that can be accomplished by people who work directly for public interest. She has been a leader on critical issues, including lesbian and bisexual women's health, LGBT rights, the needs of older adults, and those living with HIV, and the protection of affordable housing, a critical component in helping people age with dignity in the community they know and love. Elizabeth has been celebrated by the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors for making the city of West Hollywood a, quote, better place to live for its most vulnerable residents. And just this week, she was honored for her humanitarian work by Beth Shyam Shadashim, founded as the world's first lesbian and gay synagogue, and today welcoming a huge community of progressive lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and heterosexual Jews and their families and friends.
Elizabeth, it's really, I've done this award show, produced it, co-hosted it, presented before, but to me this is a real honor to be up here on Elizabeth's behalf. I first met Elizabeth at the city's Congress in 2011. I think this evening she called me a bad boy, so I guess she still views me as a rebel to the establishment. And when I met her, I viewed her as the establishment. In the Congress, we were doing a scavenger hunt that day. We quickly bonded, found that we were willing to cheat to get ahead. That's the short story. I think what you'll hear, she has a great resume, and she's closed a chapter in her life at City Hall. And that was in the past, or something that's done, or a project that's completed. But I don't really think that's an accurate depiction of what's going on here. Elizabeth took somebody like myself who was a little bit of an outsider and gave me the tools to work within the system and within the parameters and in the purview of what was happening. So I think that's true for me. I think it's true for a lot of people in this room. a lot of the staff, a lot of the board members. And I would liken Elizabeth to the opening flame at the Olympics, because you take that torch, you catch on to that flame, and it keeps burning. That's not a legend, it's a legacy. It's a legend, it's a legacy. I'm just so honored to be here. Elizabeth, please come down.
Oh, my goodness. You know, I am 8 months after retirement. I have 12,722 steps today. Rose Bowl, I walked the Rose Bowl. Roxy says I shouldn't say how many miles, but I've gotten about 200 miles since January, a day at a time. And I want to thank Councilmember Meister, Lauren Costin, and Lucas John. I love to play, and you all helped that happen. So we were happy doing this work, and we will be happy going forward in our different paths. But thank you also to the Honorable Mayor Duran and to Councilmember D'Amico, Mayor Pro Tem, and everyone for your enthusiasm. I especially want to thank the Lesbian and Gay Advisory Board for bringing me out of the closet today. Okay, I actually came out in 1976, but I have my coming out day button with me today. It's collectible, it's for sale. Okay. And there were a few, when I came out in 1976 at the first Pride event in not in West Hollywood, on Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood, there were a few gay men that helped me along, pointing me to where the women were, and they sweetly urged me to go play over there. Thank you for this forever. Today, beyond surviving, we lesbians are fortunate to have the strong commitment of the City of West Hollywood City Council. At last year's Dyke March, all 5 council members went on the march. Here, nowhere else. The renovated Worley Building is a shiny home to the Mazer and One archives. Here, nowhere else. A few years ago, a Butch Voices conference happened. Here, nowhere else. I appreciate this recognition from you tonight, as Lauren Costin stated in the form nominating me. I am more a behind-the-scenes kind of person, because this is a we thing. I will say that we LGBTQI, we people of the rainbow flag, have some serious work to do. As we have before, we need to sustain the work over decades. In 1976, Assemblymember Art Agnos, Democrat of San Francisco, introduced AB 1. Some of you remember this, a bill outlawing job discrimination against homosexuals. In 1992, after the AB 101 veto riots, Governor Pete Wilson signed the Fair Employment Housing Act, which reformed existing California anti-discrimination statutes to cover sexual orientation in employment. 26 years in the making. We have more work to do. Since I retired, I am reading things other than staff reports or findings of committees. Most of my reading is concerned with the current state of the nation. What do? Last January, I reviewed my priorities. As I had been immersed in local government, I now saw that I needed to support national organizations that are working toward an impact, a social movement for change. If we are separated out, we will get picked off. Recently, I signed up for the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival at poorpeoplescampaign.org. It is a coalition of diverse groups joined together to demand action for an end to systemic racism and oppressive poverty. Reinvigorating our support for statewide or national movements, and we've done this before, we know how to do it, will magnify our efforts and propel our initiatives forward. To overcome today's threats to democracy, I believe that broad coalitions such as the Poor People's Campaign are necessary. As LGAB celebrates its 30th anniversary, you are the leadership
to assure that the council is advised on anything pertinent to the erosion of LGBT rights, and to work to preserve our democracy. I had the privilege of working with you, and I know you are up to the job. Thank you again for this incredible honor.
And protesting and being loud and not being silent. And as we've seen tonight, rain or shine.
Today I have a very special guest, Matt Palazzolo.
Creator, writer, and one of the stars of the web series Bloomers, Matt Palazzolo.
I feel really grateful to be surrounded by such a big and talented, wonderful group of people.
Mommy. You're gonna make us drink.
Ready for my date.
No. Unicorns have entered the zeitgeist of 20-something straight men. Unicorn is the new ironic skull. Zombie unicorns, robot unicorns, unicorns. No, just stop! My heart's colder, and I can't see that it's a lie.
I gotta go figure out who I'm supposed to be.
That's what you call family, Mike? Nobody was home, Tom. Nobody was home. I'm sorry.
Children, wake up, hold your mistake up before they turn the summer into dust. If the children don't grow up, our bodies get bigger. A bro code is supposed to be about being a good man, about having fun, about taking care of the people who you love, not about being a douchebag. Your bro code is awful, Ken. Your bro code sucks. It sucks a big fucking bag of dicks. There, I said something, okay?
Okay, this is tough. For all of you that know Matt, I think you can agree that there's not a soul out there that he didn't touch. It was an honor to serve on the board with him, and he's greatly missed. To speak more about that, please welcome Mayor John Duran with LGAB members Robert Gamboa and Duke Mason.
I'm sorry, that was a little tough to get through. Matt's dad and brother are here tonight to accept the award, excuse me, for Matt. Matthew Benjamin Palazzolo was born in December 1984. As a young man, he became active in politics and public service. He was in the No on Prop 8 movement in 2008. He co-founded the Equal Roots Coalition, an LGBTQ rights organization. He notably organized a rally drawing more than 12,000 people to protest the ban on same-sex marriage. Matt was a longtime member of the Lesbian and Gay Advisory Board. He was my appointee, and he served as chair. He was a longtime board member of Christopher Street West, LA Pride, which we'll be celebrating this weekend. He was an accomplished filmmaker and actor with roles in Bloomers, Stone Fruit, Switched at Birth. He directed music videos. He developed ad series, including an LGBT campaign for AT&T. In the City Council action awarding the Rainbow, sorry you guys. In the City Council action awarding the Rainbow Key to Matt, it says, he was a friend, a creator, a problem solver, righter of wrongs, a peacemaker, an actor, a celebrator, a true listener, an inspiring speaker. He was serious, he was compassionate, he was gentle, he was funny and wise. He was a selfless giver of love and understanding.
Matt loved Coachella, Burning Man, cruises, and outdoor trips. Matt hiked Texas's Big Bend National Park and the Lava Beds National Monument in Northern California. In January this year, Matt passed away of heat stroke while hiking in the Australian outback. He was on a climb of Mount Sonder, a 4,265-foot mountain near Alice Springs in Central Australia.
The loss of Matt was unexpected. Matt was loved by so many people, and the whole community was caught short. And seeing this video really kind of rocked me. When I first joined the Lesbian and Gay Advisory Board in 2012, Matt was the first person to reach out and welcome me in. In fact, he gave me a great big hug. He was famous for those great big hugs. I was nervous, and he had those big soft eyes that let me know that I was going to be okay, that we were all going to be okay. He was safety in this crazy world. I watched him as he helped lead our board, generating grand ideas, keeping us in line when things got heated, and bring us back to purpose when we veered off track. He had an elegant way of bringing us back to peace and purpose. And if things were still tense afterwards, there was nothing one of his great big hugs couldn't fix. We prospered as a board and as a city with Matt's participation. We tried new things and supported new causes. Matt brought his fiery spirit from his activist and artistic worlds into the realm of city government and helped bring life to new schools of thought. He was an artist and used his creative talents to influence minds and activate the hearts of people. For artists truly are gifted as our messengers of change, of hope, and of love. For 8 long years, Matt served the city of West Hollywood proudly. On top of all the other amazing work he did in the community, he was always here doing what was right and doing what was needed. There were times he would confide struggles in me, and there were times he would share his triumphs with me. No matter what the situation was going on in his life, that smile of hope never left his lips. He was, and always will be, that beacon of hope for artists, for activists, for the LGBT community, and for all of humanity. I find it appropriate that the Lesbian and Gay Advisory Board is pushing for an art scholarship in his name to serve many artists to come. I find it fitting also that we will posthumously award him with one of the city's highest honors in the Rainbow Key Awards. But I find it most fitting that we all got to have known Matthew and could call him our friend, to tell him we loved him and to know that he loved us. And his legacy will live on forever in our hearts. And the city of West Hollywood Thank you, Matthew, for being our light. We will always love you, and we will always miss you. I'm going to leave you with a quick short poem before inviting Matthew's father and brother up here to say a few words. I know for certain that we never lose the people we love, even to death. They continue to participate in every act, thought, and decision we make. Their love leaves an indelible imprint in our memories. We find comfort in knowing that our lives have been enriched by having shared in their love. It is my great honor and privilege.
Wait, before you do that. One last thing before you do that. I'm sorry, Robert. You're going to bring him up in a second. Matt's dad spoke at Matt's memorial and told us all that in Matt's backpack, sunburn, lotion, things for the trip, but there was one thing in his backpack that he carried with him, and that was a rainbow flag. And his dad asked at the memorial, why would Matt need a rainbow flag in his backpack? I know why, and you know why. There's a scene in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, in the outback of Australia, where the Guy Pearce character is on a bus with beautiful silver lame flowing behind him as there's an operatic song playing, right? You know that scene. And you know, and I know, Matt was taking that flag to the top of the highest peak to fly it to no one in particular, to just fly it, because that's who Matt Palazzolo was.
On behalf of the Lesbian and Gay Advisory Board in the City of West Hollywood, I'd like to invite Matt's father and brother to come up here and receive the Rainbow Key Award on behalf of the city.
Thank you all for honoring Matt with this award, but also with your presence here today. I'm especially grateful that this is happening on an election day because, as many of you know, his activism was sparked on a less fortunate election day 10 years ago. So it is somewhat poetic that his time serving this community is bookended by 2 elections. My dad likes to say that when he has a difficult decision to make, he thinks to himself, what would Hilda do? That's our mom. She passed away about 5 years ago. And in that way, she's not really gone. Matt was an example of how to be a better person and how to make sure we don't take things for granted. And to make sure our voices are heard. So on election days or any other day, as long as we keep him in here and up here, he'll never really be gone. Thank you.
Matt's late mom, Hilda, and I are so proud that Matt grew up to have the ability and the courage to speak for so many people who couldn't speak for themselves. And some of you know this, but some of you don't, but about a month ago, some of us went to the summit of Mount Sonder, and we unfurled that flag for everyone in particular. Thank you.
We have one more video to show of this event at Mount Sounder. While he may not be there physically, I think you could tell that he's very much there in spirit.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, and the bright, blessed days, and dark, sacred nights, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the skies, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, and the bright, blessed days, and dark, sacred nights, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. For I can't help falling in love with you. For I can't help falling in love with you. So I think to myself, it's a wonderful world.
Thank you for sharing that with us. It's beautiful. Please welcome back Councilmember Lauren Meister, joined by LGAB members John Erickson and Sue Lavacari.
Thank you. Bambi Salcido couldn't be here this evening. She wasn't feeling well, but she is so fantastic. We are going to honor her anyway. Bambi Salcido is a remarkable trans activist who has worked in the migration, HIV, youth, LGBT, incarceration, and Latina communities. She served 8 years as Health Education and HIV Prevention Services Coordinator at the nation's largest and most experienced clinical program. But early in life, Bambi experienced very difficult challenges.
Thank you so much. Because Bambi can't be here, I just want to give a personal moment of privilege to talk about her and her activism before we talk about the rest of her bio, because many of you know Bambi, and many of you know she is a force of nature. In today's troubled climate, in today's troubled environment, we look for leaders. We look for people that we want to follow. And if any of you know Bambi and have had the great privilege to meet her and experience her activism, I don't know, but I can speak for myself, but I will follow Bambi anywhere. Growing up poor in a home with a single working mother in Guadalajara, Mexico, she made her way through a different example of family, school, gangs, and LGBTQ friends. She was in a world of drugs, crime, and juvenile institutions. After immigrating to the United States, she was confronted with prisons and street violence. Living through all of this, she committed herself to treatment and slowly began imagining a different and better life.
Her survival inspired a sense of duty to help others. As she recovered her own life, her experiences became the basis for her extraordinary work in activism. Bambi's work has been recognized nationwide by many organizations, including the Black and Hispanic Gay Coalition, Lambda Legal, LA Pride, the Models of Pride Youth Conference, and the National Latina AIDS Awareness Day. Since Bambi can't be here, her good friend and a transgender advisory board member, Erica De La Cruz, will accept on her behalf. Thank you, Bambi.
I'm good, you'll see me.
Good evening, everyone. Hello, beautiful people. I hope you're doing well. As a custom tradition, quiero dar gracias a mi poder superior por darme la oportunidad de estar aquí con ustedes. I always like to thank my higher power for giving me the privilege to be here before you today. I also want to express my humble gratitude to the selection committee to thinking that I'm worthy of receiving this honor. Even though I'm receiving this honor today as a leader of the very first trans-led organization providing critical support services to our community in Los Angeles, it's important that we acknowledge that trans and gender non-conforming people have been at the forefront fighting for the rights of the lesbian, gay, bi, and queer peoples since the beginning of the queer liberation movement, sacrificing our lives for us to have a better future. People like Sylvia Rivera, who died homeless with no support from LGBTQ community, and Marsha P. Johnson, who has killed, and still there has been no justice for Marsha or many other members of the community, even here locally. Our beloved Vicky Gutierrez was brutally murdered in January of this year. And just because they arrest the person who killed her, many think that justice has been served for Vicky and many other sisters. The reality is that many of us killed in many different ways, not just physically, but spiritually are killed every single day simply because our society has been brainwashed to think who trans and gender non-conforming people are. And the violence that is perpetrated against us through the institutions that our society has created. We are criminalized simply because of who we are, because how we look, because where we are from. We are not able to obtain jobs and not because we are not capable, but because of the integrity discrimination that is buried in our societies. Conscious mind against our community. It's because we have not had the same opportunities as other people. It is because we still cannot get opportunities for us to move forward in the social ladder later. Today, I am being honored, and it's amazing that I get to have this privilege. But there are also many trans and gender non-conforming people who also do a great job locally that should be honored and recognized. Amazing people who are members of my community and who have been here before me, like Maria Roman, Valerie Spencer, Chela Demure, Brenda del Rio Gonzalez, the late Alexis Rivera, Queen Victoria, Jasmine Nicala, Karima Samala, and the amazing people who work alongside me, like Erica de la Cruz, Addison Ross Vincent, Adi Lope, Madeline Ambrosini, Michelle Pulido, and Liza Ceballos. And all those who have been at the forefront every time we need to bury our sisters who have been murdered, and important that we honor and value the contributions members of the trans and gender non-conforming community bring to our society. And tonight, I want to share this honor with all the members of the local trans and gender non-conforming community. I know that Pride Month is barely starting, but let's remember the pride for trans and gender non-conforming people is not just in June, it's every single day of our lives. Just because we want in our truth, that is why we are hated by our society, because we are truthful to ourselves and who we are. We walk our path, despite the constant assassinations from our society. As we continue to celebrate Pride, let's not forget those members of our community who perish under the institutions that continue to marginalize us, like a prison industrial complex, including immigration and custom enforcement, ICE, who killed Roxana Hernandez a few days ago, the same way that he killed Victoria Arellano 11 years ago. Institutions like the government, the healthcare, education, religious, and workforce system who are always persecuting and discriminating us simply because of who we are. To all of those who are out there and all you are here, I want to send a message that one for all of us to understand. Trans and gender non-conforming people are here and have been here, and we are claiming our existence in our society. More of us are coming to our power and are becoming to the architects of the destiny of our community. We are discovering our power individually and collectively. We are healing, we are overturning our horrible experience into opportunities. And every day, more of us are claiming our space everywhere we go, everywhere we are present, because we are not going to be silenced or erased. We are going to continue to thrive, excel, and create our own people. An example of what I'm talking about is this work that I'm doing at the Center for Violence Prevention and Transgender Wellness with the amazing staff who works there and are empowering our community. There is says that says they try to bar us. They did not know we were seeds. We are here and we will continue to be here. Let's not forget that we together can change the violence that trans and gender non-conforming people experience. Thank you so much, City of West Hollywood, Mayor and Council members, for all your work in behalf of our community. I invite you to invest in our community, to support those who do not have access, support upcoming trans leaders, and understand that it's with your support that we are going to make the difference in our society. We together can create the changes that need happen in our community. You have the power to make those changes. Please share your power with our community. Give us access to see our humanity. Again, thank you so much for the honor, but let's not forget those of us who are the most marginalized and often underserved. Happy Pride, and thank you once again. Bambi Salcedo, President of NCO, the Translatina Coalition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Erica, for being here in Bambi's place, and also for her incredible work. Let's get to a matter of paramount importance. I've been asked 500 times. Parking validation is out back to the left. And Duke will remind you later. I'm just going to plant the seed, and he can water that at the end of the show. But right now, I'd like to invite Mayor John Duran, joined by LGAB members Jason Frazier and Robert Gamboma, back to the podium.
Okay, the final award. And this one's great. This one's great because I've known this person a very long time. If you, I'm going to go off script. Sorry, staff, I'm going to go off script. If you know Brian Pendleton, you would think, my gosh, this guy's got a blessed life. He's living up on Mulholland Drive and, rubbing elbows with President Barack Obama, and you can get Mayor Garcetti to answer his calls like that. And my God, how blessed to have the life of Brian Pendleton. What you may not know is how Brian Pendleton got from here to there. I met Brian Pendleton about 25 years ago. He was one of West Hollywood's delightful twinks, boop-bopping around the city of West Hollywood, living in his rent-controlled apartment. And at the time, in 1990-91, we had just come back from the National March on Washington. National Coming Out Day had just started. We were in the midst of the AIDS crisis. ACT UP was in the streets. Queer Nation followed them. Governor Wilson vetoed AB 101 September 30th. I'm losing my mind. I'm getting older. 1991. And we started a group called ANGLE, Access Now for Gay and Lesbian Equality. Many of the sort of people that have been very involved in the 70s and 80s decided to start a new group to try to elect a president who would stop the dying. And David Mixner, who now lives in New York, was part of that group, and Diane Abbott and Roberta Bennett, lesbian godmothers of Los Angeles, and the late Dr. Scott Hitt, who would go on to become the chair of the Presidential AIDS Commission. And in walks this intern, this 20-something-year-old twink, blonde-haired and cute, but as soon as he opened his mouth, out came smart. Cute's nice. Cute and smart is rare. And Brian Pendleton jumped into the midst of activism. If there are any of you here who are maybe new to activism, twinkish, 20-something, wondering, what can I do? How do I fit in? What do I have? You need to know the story of Brian Pendleton, because there are probably other Brian Pendletons here in the room tonight, maybe watching at home, who need to know that out of his courage and his perseverance and his desire to be of service to his community, he sacrificed so much at a time when we really needed 20-somethings, because so many of those that were older were sick. And Brian walked in to the midst of epidemic, gays in the military, election of President Bill Clinton, and said, I'm here, I'm Brian Pendleton, what can I do? And you would see Brian Pendleton staffing tables and volunteering and doing what I and many of us might look upon as, that measly work you do when you first get involved. I know I did it. And you just kind of get in there and figure it out. And now flash forward to Brian Pendleton today, 2018. He's a philanthropist, an activist, an entrepreneur. He's the founder of CauseForce, and he used his personal experience, entrepreneurial vision, and motivating style to lead a workforce of 150 employees and has raised over $800 million, primarily for breast cancer. When combined with his other professional efforts, it's a fact that Brian Pendleton has now raised over $1 billion for charity. His proudest achievement is his marriage to Chad Goldman. I agree with that. Chad's spectacular. Here in West Hollywood, the Goldman Pendleton Library Mall is a landmark facility for the community's commitment to learning. In the Philippines, there are 2 state-of-the-art Pendleton Goldman Learning Centers. There is a Goldman Pendleton Language Learning Center at the University of Tennessee. And the Pendleton Goldman Prep Clinic provides HIV education and prevention and PrEP in South Los Angeles.
Brian serves on the 9-member City of Los Angeles Police and Fire Pension Board by appointment of Mayor Eric Garcetti. He served on the West Hollywood Transportation Commission by appointment of Mayor John Duran, and he has been the chairman of the board of the Trevor Project and a member of the Board of Governors of the Human Rights Campaign.
In 2013, Brian sold his company and now volunteers his time mentoring, supporting, and advising individuals, charities, organizations, and working in the community and supporting many noble causes. He helps communities gain access to academic facilities, scholarship programs, and life-saving medical support. I had the great pleasure of working with Brian last year on the Resist March, and he's a fascinating fellow, completely geared and locked into the idea of making other people's lives better. How beautiful is that, when one of life's greatest lessons is this: a blessing is not a blessing unless it's shared. This is something that I hold very near and dear to me, but it's something that Brian has ingrained in every fiber of his being and is reflected clearly in all of his actions. What this man has done for numerous people and numerous communities cannot be counted. It cannot even be measured at all. But what we do know is that so many people are better off because of what this man has done and what he continues to do. It is the least we can do here in West Hollywood to honor him with one of the city's highest honors. Please join me in congratulating Brian Pendleton for receiving a 2018 Rainbow Key Award.
Wow, thank you so much to El Gab for, hi Sue, for making this award happen for me. I'm so absolutely honored. You know, John, thank you. The first political campaign I ever went to was when John was running for state assembly, I think. I knew I was gay since I was as early as I can remember, unlike some of my friends. I remember in 3rd grade, you know, you get spelling words, and he went to the store, he drove the car, and I would go back and look at that list of 10 spelling words and see that I had written he 10 times. And I knew what would happen if I turned that homework assignment into my 3rd grade teacher. She would discover my deepest, darkest secret, that I was gay. So I would go back and randomly change half of them to she. I grew up in a Republican home where, at the time, gays should be rounded up and put on an island and shot. I went to a high school where Pendleton is a fag was written on the front doors of that school and left up for a month. And I got to tell you, that's one of the best experiences I ever had. It taught me how to be tough. It taught me how to be brave. It taught me how to walk through fear. But one of the things that John left out is, you know, in 1992, Pete Wilson vetoed that bill. I was working at a cafe as a twink with my short shorts and my tank top, hey. But I went into the streets, and we marched, and we rioted. Sorry, Captain Polka, hopefully you weren't. I think you were there. Good friend now. And I got a taste for what activism was about. But unfortunately, in 1993, I became addicted to crystal meth. It's an epidemic still in our community. Got to keep working to figure out how to unwind our sexuality and our community away from opioids and that crystal meth. And my life fell apart. But what I learned at that time when my life was falling apart was that I may not have had my birth family there to support me. They were not there to support me. I had my chosen family. And my neighbor, I was living on Hancock at the time, and my neighbor, Doug Roberts, and my good friend, Greg Zabilski, and my friends who owned the Tango Grill, Gene and Adriana, showed up at my house, didn't knock, just burst into the door and said, you have a problem with drugs, and we'd like to cordially invite you to go to rehab. And I said, yes. And I am so glad I did, and I've been sober for 22 years now. And I do have to tell you that, Doug, are you here? Where are you, Doug? Doug, oh, there you are. Hi, Doug. He went and talked to my Republican parents, and they came and they did my intervention. And they were there, and they changed their tune. And they somehow figured out how to love George Bush and how to love Brian Pendleton. And that matters to me, and that matters to me in this story for a reason. Love matters. Captain Polka told me this today. I didn't know what I was going to say today. I said, Captain Polka, what should I talk about? By the way, Captain Polka is the captain of the Hollywood division of the LAPD and was instrumental in the Resist March last year, and I want to thank you, Captain. But has become a good friend. Love matters. Nothing I have done in my life, whether it's be credited for raising $800 million or $1 billion, I didn't do it alone. It took a village. It took a lot of people to make it happen. And when last January, I hadn't had my first cup of coffee yet, I posted on Facebook that I was pissed off and that instead of parading, we should be protesting. And then, 30,000 people, normally I get 5 likes, 30,000 people said, damn, yes, let's do this. It was the people that came together. So many of you in this room came together to make sure that we could protest and protest safely and make sure that our message was out. But that wasn't necessarily the only thing that came out of that moment for me. It was meeting people like Karina Samala, who I did not know before then. It was meeting who I lovingly call the evil Meister. She was mayor at the time, and she was tough on me. She wanted to make sure that we did not ruin Pride. And we had plenty of people telling us that we were ruining Pride. And I understand that. But we reached out to Republicans, we reached out to trans groups, we reached out to people of color. People said, don't reach out to Bambi, she'll take over. Well, Bambi reached out to me and she took over. And I'm so happy. If you've seen the aerial photos of the Resist March last year, one of the largest trans flags in America made its way from Hollywood to West Hollywood with one of the largest contingents of trans people in the world. That happened right here. And it needs to keep happening. It needs to keep happening. So I'm so proud to be here. Remember, do what you can. I know this is bad to say. People, I'm nervous to say this right now, but I'm going to say it anyway. There are Republicans in your life that you need to figure out how to reach out to. We cannot do this alone. I couldn't get sober alone. I couldn't raise $1 billion alone. I couldn't plan Resist March alone. We need people. It's so easy to color people with a cartoonish picture of what they look like, what you think they look like. All Republicans are orange Cheetos now. Do your best. Do your best to talk to your family members, anybody in your life that you think leans conservative, because you know what? I think you'll find out that if you talk to them, they wish you no harm. They want you to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So thank you again, El Gab. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you, Donna.
Well, thank you, Brian, and thank you for all the honorees this evening. Your accomplishments are truly an inspiration.
Before we close tonight, we just wanted to thank everyone who helped produce this program. In particular, we wanted to recognize our caterer, Joey Santos, our photographer, Jonathan Moore, our awards makers, Cars Trophies, our sound and video technician, Andre Lalonde, the City Council for gracing us with their presence tonight, and a real word of gratitude to the city staff who just did the most incredible job and who worked so hard. Peter Noonan, David Escobedo, Corey Roskin, and Jeff Book. Thank you. Not just this event, but they just work so hard every day to make this city as great as it is. So we're really, truly grateful.
And to put up with us and all of our consternation and everything. This event wouldn't have gone off the way it did without you, particularly Jeff, on a daily basis over the last few years as a board. We're truly so grateful and thankful and appreciative to have you serve with us. And just more than anything, you're just such a good guy. And I'm so thankful to maybe hopefully one day watch all Golden Girls episodes with you. if you so choose.
Yeah. And we also say thank you to each and every one of you for being part of this special community. West Hollywood really is a uniquely special community. And just for being here tonight with us for this ceremony, please don't forget to validate your parking for the 5-story garage. The validation machine is in the lobby.
I watered that seed.
Yeah. Thank you and good night. Thank you.
And all these scripts could go away.
Yeah.
Honey, we did it.
Yep.